All right, 9 minutes past 6 here on AM 600 Kogo, San Diego's news and talk station. I just finished watching the second plane hit in real time. And you can see, by the way, go to Kogo.com. We have all the events of the day chronicled with both video and pictures at Kogo.com on our main page. I know. I'll tell you what. You watch it, and you watch it in real time. In other words, the build-up to it, it is insufferably difficult yet compelling, and that is what that fuels this day. As we are, I get a stomachache watching it. I remember the events, and I remember thinking to myself every time, how many times did you see that plane hit that building, the second one? How many times did you see that? And then later, of course, we saw video from the street. If you recall, there's that video that's around where you can see the plane hit the first building. God, if I've seen that once, I've seen it 100 times. And every time is different and special and sad. I'll tell you this. I used to drive down Interstate 95 to and from Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, where I worked. And I would see planes banking every day heading into Baltimore, Washington Airport, International Airport. And can you see a plane bank today without thinking of 9/11? It still is in my head when I see a plane, tilt its wings to make a turn. It's very, very difficult. And of course, the matters at hand here in the country are to keep us safe and to prevent that kind of event from ever occurring, which I think our intelligence services have done remarkably well. I know, and you know, that Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups want another big a target. They want another attack. And these men and women, they have nightmares. They work tirelessly to prevent this from occurring. Congressman Brian Bilbray joins us here on AM 600 Kogo. Congressman, good morning. Thank you for being with us, sir.
Honor to be with you, Chip.
All right. There's a lot of real strong emotion still tied to this day. I didn't realize until I watched a real time coverage again, and I realized just how it comes right to the surface so quickly. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the confusion at the time, it's sort of interesting looking back 8 years. I was actually in the office of the immigration commissioner at the time, having a meeting with him at the time that the plane started hitting. And I remember we were, told that a plane had hit in New York, and we turned it on, and the newscaster was talking about what a terrible accident it was. And just as he said that, the second plane hit the second tower, and you heard him say, "This is a terrible accident." He went right over, "This is a terrible accident. This was not an accident." And all once the country realizing when the second plane hit that this was an attack. That moment really sort of, transformed this country. And I think that when we get into that, it was the hit. We didn't know what happened. We didn't understand. But when the second plane hit, the reality that America was under attack, that this was a vicious attack. And in fact, the first words I heard after seeing the plane hit the second tower was the Commissioner for Immigration of the United States turning to me and saying, "Congressman, can you imagine being the agent who allowed these guys into the country?" And, it just has always hit me ever since then that what a vision, a fact of understanding the responsibility that not just our men and women and the armed services serve, but people across this country and around the world at defending this country. Everyone from your Border Patrol agent to your CIA agent to your customs. To the people that process visas. This thing is really kind of awakened us, and I think is what we've got to remember is it could happen again. And what worries me is that on the anniversary, there are people here in Washington who are talking about retreating from doing things like requiring a valid ID when you get on the airplane. They're talking about changing the TSA, the Transportation Security people, and their status. It really is something that we need to reflect on, and we need to remember how we felt then and remember to act today in an appropriate manner to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, Congressman, I think I remember calling as soon as the second plane was hit. I called. My wife worked in downtown D.C., and I called her. I said, "Don't go to work. Something's going on." And, of course, and then when the Pentagon happened, I was like, oh, God, I didn't think I was right. I thought I was overreacting. And, and then And then, of course, and I don't know if you know this, I was working in a news building, and Don, you weren't there, were you, in 2001? No. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but there were all sorts of reports of car bombs going off in the district. Do you remember this, Congressman?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I was just 2 blocks. You know where the commissioner's offices are. I was 2 blocks from the White House. And, there was that. Remember, they shut down the metros, so you couldn't get out through the metros. And downtown, F-18s were all at once scrambled all over the top of the town. Everything was shut down, and within a matter of a couple hours, D.C. was a ghost town. Basically, nobody was even on the streets.
In fact, here in San Diego, we're used to seeing fighter jets all the time. It's not a thing. There, you're not. And when you see them, I lived in Kensington. I'm sure you know where that is. And when you see fighter jets over your head in the suburbs like that constantly, I mean, I actually, I tell this story of how people didn't know what to do that day. I coached Little League Baseball. And I had a practice set for 4 o'clock. It was a Tuesday, right? Yeah, I had a practice set for 4 o'clock. So I said I should go down there in case somebody shows up. Every parent showed up with their kid. The mothers, they didn't know what to do. We went through this whole period. Remember, the cell phones didn't work. The transformation for Congress has just been extraordinary. We've gone from having cell phones and now secure BlackBerry, so that during national emergencies, we can get information, because basically the communication systems were overloaded immediately. We're talking about the Capitol today. You do not have the Capitol Police carrying sidearms. You're having them carry, M16s and shotguns now. You're seeing a show of force. You're seeing streets have been closed. Buildings are so much harder for citizens to get in and out of the Capitol now. You're seeing that cars and buses aren't allowed in certain areas because they're afraid of the car bombs. This has really been a transformation that was immediate, was distinct, and it was appropriate. The great majority of it was very appropriate. I think back, and Congressman Ehrlich, then governor, was a friend of mine, and was talking about
great guy.
Yeah, Bob's a great guy. The whole feeling down there. When I think about 9/11, and one image will always come to my mind is of Donald Rumsfeld on the grounds of the Pentagon, refusing, when they know there's another plane in the air, they're pretty sure, refusing to go with security and helping injured people get on to helicopters and emergency personnel. And he lives in my mother-in-law's neighborhood, and I saw him about 3 years ago, and I made a point to go up to him. And no security. He's walking through the streets, walking a dog. And I told him, I said, that image is always in my brain. And, he was, it's funny.